When we talk about history, we usually look up at the pyramids, the towers, the soaring skylines of forgotten empires. But in the heart of Turkey, on the vast Anatolian plateau, one of humanity's greatest architectural feats lies not above the ground, but over 280 feet, 85 meters below it. This is Derinkuyu, the deep well, a city so massive and so ancient that for generations it was dismissed as nothing more than a local myth. The modern story of this subterranean citadel begins, unbelievably, with a flock of curious poultry. In 1963, a local resident of the town, then known as Cappadocia, was renovating his home. While tearing down a basement wall, he felt cool air rushing in from beyond. What he revealed was not a simple cave, but the opening to a dark tunnel, hidden since the forced population exchange of 1923. But the real mystery wasn't just the tunnel. It was the scale of what lay within. That single crevice in the basement wall led to an estimated 18 distinct levels of interconnected rooms capable of sheltering 20,000 people alongside their food, livestock, and institutions for extended periods. This wasn't just a bunker, it was a complex urban organism. How could an entire city designed to sustain thousands be forgotten for 40 years? And how is this invisible fortress, a citadel with no exterior walls, constructed in the first place? The answer lies in the very ground they walked on. If human history is a narrative of conquering the landscape, Derinkuyu is a story of opportunistic exploitation. The existence of this massive underground city is purely a consequence of the unique geology of Cappadocia. Millions of years ago, the collision of tectonic plates triggered intense volcanism. Massive stratovolcanoes like Mount Erciyes ejected catastrophic volumes of superheated ash and rock fragments known as pyroclastic flows. As this material cooled, it solidified into a rock called tuff. The properties of Cappadocian tuff were the critical variables in building Derinkuyu. First, workability. Tuff is relatively soft when first exposed. Ancient engineers, using simple tools of obsidian, bronze, or later iron, could excavate vast volumes of rock with remarkable ease. Second, case hardening. This is the ingenious part. Upon exposure to air, the rock's surface reacts, causing it to harden and form a durable protective crust. This ensures that while the structure is easy to carve, the resulting chambers are resistant to collapse. Third, insulation. The porous rock, filled with microscopic air pockets, acts as a natural thermal regulator. Regardless of the harsh Anatolian climate above, the city maintains a constant interior temperature of about 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Fahrenheit, year-round. Ancient inhabitants observed that hollows carved into surface formations, like the famous fairy chimneys, remained stable and comfortable. They simply took that concept and extrapolated it to the entire bedrock beneath their feet. Derinkuyu is in essence an inverted skyscraper. Instead of building up, they dug down, creating a monolithic structure stronger and more durable than many constructed masonry buildings.
To sustain a population of 20,000 underground, the builders had to solve three life-or-death problems: asphyxiation, dehydration, and structural collapse. They solved them with a sophisticated level of ingenuity. The most critical challenge was air quality. The smoke from thousands of oil lamps, cooking fires, and the methane from livestock should have made the air toxic within hours. Instead, Derinkuyu functions as a giant, passive HVAC machine. The city is pierced by over 15,000 ventilation ducts. The entire system is anchored by a massive central shaft, plunging 55 meters, 180 feet deep. This system relies on the stack effect, creating a pressure differential that pulls fresh air down into the lower levels and pushes stale air out into the atmosphere. Even visitors today, standing on the accessible 8th level, can feel a fresh breeze. This airflow was so efficient that it addressed the sootless mystery. The constant circulation scrubbed particulate matter from the clean-burning olive oil lamps, preventing heavy soot accumulation, respiratory failure, and eye infections. Equally vital was the water supply. The main ventilation shaft doubled as the primary well, tapping into the aquifers far below the surface. Crucially, many well shafts were capped from below, accessible only to the underground residents. This security measure ensured that surface invaders could not poison the shared water source, the ultimate siege weapon. The city was meticulously organized in vertical zones. Levels 1 to 2, the buffer zone. These upper levels contained extensive stables for livestock and industrial areas like wine presses and olive oil production. Keeping the animals here provided a thermal buffer for the lower levels, and their immediate exit and entry access was simpler. Levels 3 to 4, the residential core, featuring communal kitchens with tandir-style ovens and silos carved into the walls to store grain and dried meat. Levels 5 to 8, the sanctuary and last line of defense, housing the most sacred spaces, including the massive cruciform-shaped church on level 7. Derinkuyu was not designed for comfort. It was designed for war. Every architectural choice was calculated to turn the structure itself into a weapon. The most iconic defense feature is the rolling stone door, or tiras. These were massive, monolithic wheels carved from hard basalt, or andesite, material harder than the surrounding tuff, weighing between 200 and 500 kilograms, up to 1,100 pounds. These doors operated on a simple, brilliant system. They could only be opened or closed from the inside. Once rolled shut, the smooth outer face offered attackers no handhold or leverage point, forcing an enemy to chip through solid basalt to pass. This meant that if the first level was breached, the defenders could simply retreat to the second, seal the door, and isolate the enemy. This compartmentalization turned the city into a series of independent bunkers. The tunnels themselves were instruments of attrition. Choke points. Corridors were intentionally narrow and low, requiring an armored aggressor to crouch and proceed single file. 1,000 soldiers on the surface became one soldier at a time underground. Ambush. The tunnels featured murder holes, small openings in the ceiling or walls through which defenders could thrust spears or pour hot oil onto the crouching invaders below. Disorientation. The layout was a labyrinth of false corridors and dead ends, designed to confuse invaders and separate them from their units. Derinkuyu was not isolated. It was part of a subterranean federation allegedly connected to the neighboring city of Kaimakli, 9 kilometers away by a continuous tunnel. While a fully passable tunnel hasn't been completely cleared today, geological analysis suggests the cities were part of a wider defense network, enabling escape or communication across the region.
Dating Derinkuyu is difficult because construction involved removing rock, not laying down datable deposits. However, by triangulating historical texts and archaeological context, a clear timeline of occupation emerges. The leading hypothesis credits the Phrygians, Chalphasides, 8th to 7th century BC, as the architects of the massive tunnel network we see today. They were renowned master stonemasons who possessed the iron tools necessary for precise excavation. Their motive was simple: survival. They faced the devastating invasion of the Cimmerians, a mobile cavalry force against which an invisible underground city was the ultimate defense. However, the city's story spans much longer. The Hittite hypothesis, c. 1600 to 1200 BC. It is plausible the first shallow levels were dug by the Hittites as panic bunkers against threats like the Sea Peoples. The smoking gun, 401 BC. The definitive proof of the established underground lifestyle comes from the Greek historian Xenophon. In his Anabasis, he describes passing through a region bordering Cappadocia where people lived in underground houses with a mouth like that of a well. And while entrances were tunneled down for the beasts of burden, the human inhabitants descended by a ladder. This proves the city was fully mature centuries before Christianity arrived. The Christian sanctuary, 4th to 14th century AD. While others dug the tunnels, the Byzantines turned them into a city, driven underground by the constant razzias, fast-moving raids of the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates. The Christian population expanded the city. They added the majority of the recognizable features, including the wide halls, the missionary school, level 2, and the massive cruciform church, level 7. The building of a monumental religious space, even in hiding, highlights the deep psychological role of architecture in maintaining morale during a siege. Derinkuyu remained in use for centuries, often by the local Greek communities, who called the subterranean refuges Cappadocia. They were the last inhabitants, using the tunnels to hide during times of persecution, until the 1923 population exchange led to their exile and the city's secret being lost. Life in the deep dark posed immense logistical challenges, particularly sanitation. With no complex sewer system like Rome's, inhabitants relied on a bucket system using clay jars. Archaeologists believe waste was chemically treated with volcanic ash and stored, likely to be used as fertilizer once the siege lifted. The sheer scale of this project has led to numerous fringe theories, questioning if humans could have possibly built it. However, the archaeological evidence strongly refutes this. The chisel marks found on the tunnel walls are consistent with Phrygian and Byzantine metal tools. Derinkuyu is not evidence of high-tech machinery. It is a profound testament to the power of human persistence and the specific properties of tuff. A single worker could excavate a significant volume of the soft rock daily, creating this metropolis over centuries. As we walk the cool, silent corridors of Derinkuyu today, past the massive millstone doors that still stand guard, we are witnessing a civilization that, when faced with the existential threat of annihilation from the surface, chose not to flee, but to dig. They mastered their geology, turned the physics of air into a life support system, and built an invisible fortress that ensured their survival for thousands of years. The definition of safety in Cappadocia was truly measured not by how high one could build walls, but by how deep one could disappear into the earth.